Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So it continues. Girls are having medals taken from them. They're having state championships taken from them, especially in these blue states where they are allowing boys to continue to compete in women's and girls competitions. So at the Massachusetts Indoor Track and Field Championships last week, 2 medals were won by a male athlete. Lily Serrano captured 2 podium finishes at Thursday's Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association Division III Indoor Track and Field Championships last week. Serrano, who has competed in girls athletics since at least 2024, has earned multiple podium finishes in recent seasons. Earlier this month at the Greater Boston League Championship, Serrano placed first in both the 55-meter dash and the high jump, and third in the 500-meter race. On February 12, Serrano took third in the 55-meter dash and 7th in the 300-meter race. Sorry. But in all seriousness, that is a place that rightfully belonged to a female athlete. There was a female athlete sat at home because her spot was taken by a male, or an extra spot was taken by a male athlete that should have been given to a girl. This was at the state championships, and Serrano earned a medal and podium position in both events. Serrano, who is 17, currently ranks first on the Chelsea High School team in the 200 to 300 and 400-meter races, as well as the high jump and 55-meter dash for the 2026 indoor season. Now, the reason I'm a bit confused is because somebody who does 100 meters or 55 meters indoors doesn't usually then do 400 meters. They usually pick one. This person's doing all of them. This person's a 100-meter runner, 55-meter runner, but then also does 300 meters or 400 meters. Make it make sense. Because I believe this person, this male athlete, is using his advantage as a male to get to the top spot in as many disciplines as possible. Because if you can get a gold medal, if you can get your name as a record holder, why not do it in as many sports as possible, in as many events as possible? It looks like that's what's going on here. And guess who's losing out? The female athletes. Multiple events are being taken from them. Because clearly this person is more of a generalist. So last year, the Department of Education announced an investigation into San Jose State University, the University of Pennsylvania, and Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association for reported violations of federal civil rights law in their athletics programs. And as we can see here, this is a clear violation of Title IX. This is going directly against the purpose of Title IX, which is to provide equal opportunities for all students in sports, regardless of sex. These female athletes are being discriminated against because a boy can go into their competition and claim to be a girl and steal medals from them. So it needs to go beyond investigating. Massachusetts needs to lose federal funding because this state is allowing injustice against girls. The OCR's decision to investigate the MIAA was in part prompted by an incident involving a girls' high school basketball game between the Collegiate Charter School of Lowell and KIPP Academy Lynn. The game drew national attention after the Lowell team forfeited at halftime following a series of injuries, several of which the school said occurred during plays involving a transgender student on the KIPP Academy team. This was when multiple female basketball players were injured in one game. And this was by a male athlete who was over 6 feet. WhoCheated.org reported the following after doing, an investigation, collecting data. They said, we have about 83 state titles on record stolen from girls by boys so far, and 32 of those are from Massachusetts. Girls' sports have never truly existed in Massachusetts. The MIAA has a long history of policies that fail to fully protect the female category. We have boys with F on their birth certificate, entering into women's sports, not even as transgender students, but as females, masquerading as females because they have the identification to back that up. They don't have the chromosomes to back that up, though. They don't have the uterus. They don't have the biology to back that up. Well, if the birth certificate says they're female, then it's fair for them to compete in women's sports, apparently. This is the reasoning going on in these states. This is the reasoning behind these policies that these sporting bodies allow. And of course, as I always say, this doesn't even factor in the locker room situation. Girls having to deal with boys coming into their locker rooms, watching them undress. No female athlete in high school should have to see male genitalia in her locker room. So speaking of this history of allowing boys into girls' sports, He Cheated noted that it was not until 1978 that the MIAA attempted to adopt a rule barring boys from joining girls' teams. The policy followed reports that in districts where separate leagues had not been established, boys began joining girls' volleyball teams, leading to injuries and forfeits. However, the rule was enforced inconsistently and often left to individual schools. It was overturned by an anti-discrimination court the next year. And today the MIAA allows boys to participate on girls' teams when no equivalent boys' team is available at their school. A policy that He Cheated says enabled teams with male players to win the first two state championships of the 2025 to 2026 season in field hockey and volleyball. MIAA also permits athletes to compete on teams consistent with their self-declared gender identity, a practice He Cheated says deprives girls of even more athletic opportunities. And it said state officials had the opportunity to address this issue in the 70s. Instead, they allowed what I view as another 31 girls' state championship titles to go to male athletes. That is unacceptable and represents, in my opinion, one of the most significant infringements on the rights of female athletes in the country. In 1977, Amherst Regional High School girls' volleyball team won the Massachusetts State Championship title by default, after 4 teams forfeited against them in the state tournament because they used 2 boys on their starting roster. This has been going on since the 70s, even before all of this gender identity policies crept in. This is crazy. They just straight up allow boys to compete on girls' teams, to give the boys an opportunity if there wasn't an equivalent team. And now, boys can identify as girls and compete on girls' teams or compete against girls. This is a terrible history that they don't seem intent on rectifying at all. They want this to continue. We look back and we see who won certain state championships, and it says this is a girls' volleyball team. We can't even be sure of that. And that's going to continue, especially now with gender identity being put before biological sex when it comes to these matters. And Icons had the following to say: the MIAA has repeatedly inflicted egregious harm on female athletes by undermining the integrity of girls' competition and degrading federal protections guaranteed under Title IX. For these female track athletes, a state championship is a once-in-a-lifetime accumulation of years of sacrifice, training, and pursuit of excellence. That experience was irreparably damaged when a male athlete was allowed to compete in girls' races and was celebrated atop girls' podiums. When athletic associations undermine sex-based categories, they do not merely alter results. They strip girls of enthusiasm, confidence, and the trust that adults in charge will defend girls. We believe the Department of Education investigation will document widespread, verifiable violations of Title IX across the state. When confirmed, enforcement must be swift, severe, and financially significant at a level that ensures this never happens again. Meaningful accountability, including substantial monetary penalties, is necessary to restore integrity to girls' sports and to make clear that violating the civil rights of female athletes will carry serious and lasting consequences. Very well said there by Icons. They need to lose their federal funding to a significant degree that they will have no choice but to ensure they protect women's and girls' sports in the state of Massachusetts. So where we're at now is we have more male athletes taking multiple medals from female athletes in multiple disciplines across the board. That's where we're at now in these states. So unfortunately, in these blue states, it only seems to be getting worse. The more they ignore the law and continue to violate Title IX, they're becoming brazen and they're continuing to allow it, putting gender identity, a delusion, above biology, above biological reality. So they need to be held accountable and they need to feel the repercussions of this. And these female athletes need to be protected. They deserve to participate in sports fairly and safely like everybody else. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Like, comment and subscribe. Take care of yourselves and God willing, I will see you in the next video.